Well, it is a good morning here in Hawaii, and I'm very happy to be bringing you the later edition of the show while I'm here for the next 3 weeks. So let's start with the fact that I was hoping to wait long enough this morning to produce this show until Tesla made it back into the green, but alas, not quite. But hey, a good recovery from being well down this morning. I'm assuming it was some kind of profit taking because there was no real news overnight to cause that big drop off. In fact, there's some real good news out there in terms of the institutions that typically have the top 10 companies that own Tesla shares seem to be adding, in general, adding quite substantially in some cases. I'll talk about that in a minute. Now, there was a huge amount of economic news today. We'll get to all of that in just a couple of seconds. But the overall impact, even though there was some really good news, I think, generally speaking, very good news in that economic information, the market seems to be, okay, we've already got that. We've already figured that in. So let's start with this. Teslarati reports this week has been a tour de force on the Tesla Optimus demonstrations. But even with the humanoid robots' already impressive capabilities, CEO Elon Musk dropped a comment that truly made Optimus even more exciting. Now, let me just stop there for a second. Some of this big increase this week might be Optimus related. A lot of great videos, a lot of great commentary. I really don't think that's it. I still believe it's FOMO with regard to Robotaxi, but I could be wrong. Some of it could be Optimus. So they go on to say, inasmuch as Optimus today is likely one of the most advanced humanoid robots in the industry, it's still nothing close to what Tesla really wants to create. Optimus demonstrations this week caught headlines because they showed the humanoid robot performing impressive dance moves. Initially, a video posted by Elon Musk on social media showed Optimus dancing while being tethered to a cable. But then a follow up the ante. They took the cable away because the cable wasn't really providing support. It was just in case it tripped or fell or whatever, it wouldn't, have the Optimus potentially harmed. So this is from Elon today. He says this is very, very far from our final form. He didn't say very, very. He said very far from our final form. And then the Tesla Optimus post on X. I mean, the Tesla underscore Optimus, which is an account on X, says we're just getting warmed up, just getting warmed up. So then comments from Tesla Vice President of Optimus revealed that the humanoid robots movements were fully learned in simulation. So all those dance moves were learned in simulation and zero shot transfer back to real without any extra training. Elon Musk later joked that he would be accompanied by a troop of dancing Optimus robots at the 2024 Tesla annual shareholder meeting. But in another follow up on X, Musk clarified that while Optimus is already impressive, it is still not in the final form. This is quite surprising as the humanoid robot in initial product. It's already in initial production in Fremont. Even in its current state, Optimus looks production ready. Elon Musk even noted that Optimus robots are just walking around the Tesla factories today around the clock, charging themselves when they need to charge up by themselves. With that in mind, one could wonder what Optimus's final form could really be like. The Optimus robot's current iteration is already pretty sleek. Maybe Tesla is still developing Optimus until its appearance could mirror the robot's static display mode that the company showed back in 2021. That Optimus model featured very human proportions and joints, making it look like an android from a sci-fi flick more than it was just a humanoid robot with obvious mechanical parts. Anyway, we'll see. Optimus coming. Obviously, we're all waiting. A lot of people made commentaries that I would have made, which is like, okay, I'd rather see it changing a tire or, welding a joint or something. That's what I'd like to be seeing. Sawyer Merritt says, this is news in from JP Morgan Chase. As I mentioned a little while ago, they have increased their stake. JP Morgan increasing their stake by 9.5% or 3.43 million shares in Q1 of 2025, which is a record high according to their filings. AJ, remember AJ can be found at ALOJOH on X, Tesla rallied for 6 consecutive sessions and is up 26% in just those 6 days. The attached analysis looks at the 25 rallies before the current rally, and then what has happened historically after it's rallied like that. Well, the bottom line, historical patterns imply current rally ends immediately. However, the pullbacks ending that rally tend to be short. Out of only 4 out of those 25 rallies were followed by pullbacks extending even 2 sessions. Market environment is important. So he says, look, number one, we're in a bullish environment. The recent China trade truce announcement has decreased investors' concerns. So we have an overall macro. That's me talking. Number two, he says, economic data is coming in significantly stronger than priced back in February and March. Not Tesla information. He's talking about the overall market. Number three, AI momentum remains strong and reaches deeper and deeper into societies. And so the AI play, the overall AI play might be impacting some of these institutionals even more than the specific robotaxi and Optimus are impacting them. It's kind of the overall AI play and the, as I mentioned the other day, the Elon Musk play, the $ Elon play. Number four, potential tax cuts announcements will drive markets, and the tax cuts appear to be coming along. The big, beautiful package appears to be getting closer. Number five, May tends to be a strong month for stocks. I know that people talk about, in May go away, but he's saying that he did an analysis and May actually turns out to be a good month for stocks. Number six, Tesla has near-term backdrops, a ride-hailing launch, lower cost vehicle launch. So, all these things are coming. So we got good catalysts, but the headwinds are vehicle sales. People are still nervous. I'm nervous. I've indicated my nervousness, and you know how optimistic I am, but I'm seeing all these little tiny bits and pieces of stuff showing unit sales being a little bit off. And so that worries me. Tesla Roddy is reporting this morning that Tesla battery supplier Panasonic is feeling pressure to expedite electric vehicle cell production at its Kansas plant. Panasonic's main customer, Tesla, is reportedly urging the battery supplier to step up its game and get more batteries to them out of that new plant. The push underscores Tesla's strategic pivot to bolster U.S.-based battery supply chains because of all these trade challenges. According to the Financial Times, Panasonic CEO Yuki Kusumi noted that its primary customer is pressing for a faster start at this DeSoto, Kansas facility. Panasonic's battery facility in Kansas has been under construction since 2022. If Elon had built this, it would be up. Now, not sure the battery manufacturing would be running any better because we haven't been that great at getting those 4680s going. But in any case, my understanding was that they were expecting, the Panasonic was expecting this Kansas facility to start producing last August. So it does seem like they are behind. This next note is from Teslasti Basti, but he goes on X as Bastion Braun 121, Braun. Breaking, Elon Musk confirms with exactly 95% of cybercabs parked at night during low demand periods, the Optimus robot can then load packages into the cybercabs for doorstep or locker delivery, cutting costs in daytime traffic. So in other words, what we're talking about here is something that I think Brian Wong brought up a few weeks ago. And that is this idea that, okay, there's going to be a time period from, let's say, 1 o'clock in the morning until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. It's not a very long time period, but there's a fairly long time period where the Tesla robotaxis could be recharging, be getting cleaned, etc. But they could also be doing package deliveries, and Optimus could be a part of that, according to Elon. All right, then we got this from EJ. This is yes, I'm sorry. This is Randy Kirk. Please hit like, subscribe, and notify, all that stuff. Thank you. We have a couple of new Patreon people, but I didn't get it time to write it down. So EJ and Tony, PhD, goes under the name Real EJ and Tony. We've been quoting him a lot this week. The Atlanta Fed. Okay, listen to this now. This is really, really, really important. The Atlantic Fed says annual sticky price CPI declined in April. to the lowest inflation reading since October 21, while flexible CPI showed a marginal annual decrease. So the overall flexible CPI was showing deflation, was marginal, just a little bit, but their sticky price CPI declined to its lowest level since October of 21. This is really good news. All right, Walmart reported this morning, and they missed slightly on revenues, but they hit the ball out of the park on profits. But they also said, and this caused their stock to go down a little bit, at least in early trading. I haven't looked recently, but they basically said, look, the tariffs are going to start hitting our prices by the end of May into June. We'll start to see some price increases. They said there's no way that with a 30% tariff out of China that it's not going to, some of that's going to come through. They said our producers are eating some of it. We're eating some of it. You know, we're doing what we can, but some of that is going to eke through, which is what I've said all along. I've said 0.8% of the GDP. Okay. So in other words, if you look at CPI at the end of the year, I'm saying that the overall impact in 2020, what is this, 2025 would be 0.8%, which is pretty insignificant as a price increase because it's not inflation. It's just a price increase. CNBC says this: Walmart is often seen as a barometer for the health of U.S. consumer because of its thousands of stores, et cetera, et cetera. The CEO, this is CFO, I think, told CNBC that Walmart has not seen a noticeable shift in consumer behavior from previous quarters. They're discerning, they're mindful, they're maybe a little concerned about possible looming price increases, but their behavior largely has not changed. They're looking for value. Sales in the quarter were a little choppy, he said. He said results in February fell below the company's expectations, but March came in very strong, and April was strong, even stronger. And he says May is looking like April. So the consumer's doing fine, which is 70% of the economy. Yes, we're reducing what's happening in DC. We're reducing the government expenditures, but that's a good thing. And the consumers are still staying strong. So that would be very positive news. He says the average ticket, or the amount that a customer spent, rose 2.8% year over year. Customer transactions increased 1.6%. Yet despite the growth of purchases across Walmart's store and website, this marked the fourth straight quarter of deceleration for the metric. So sales continue to be up. Consumer continues to spend, but not quite as much of an increase as it would have been in previous year, the previous quarters. Bloomberg says this: Wells Fargo Investment Institute sees economic growth. Hello. Wells Fargo Investment Institute sees economic growth. I haven't had my breakfast yet. Clarity around Trump's tariffs and continued earnings growth driving further stock market gains through the rest of this year and next. Strategists at the firm published new S&P forecasting for 2026, expecting U.S. equity benchmarks to climb between 6,400 and 6,600 by year end. Now, remember, the all-time high is 6,150, so 6,600 would be a pretty good year. The Wells Fargo, their new year-end target is only 59 to 6,100, though, implying market could stay flat or eke out about a 3.5% advance. I'm calling for a 15% advance. I've said this all along. So 15% of 6 is pretty close to 7,000, somewhere in the 7,000 range. Okay, in the week ending May 10th, the advance figure for seasonally adjusted initial claims was 229,000, which was unchanged from the week's previous level, and been about in the same range for, I don't know, almost years and years. The 4-week moving average was 230,000. It's no big deal. But here's the big one. The total number of continued weeks claimed for benefits in all programs for this week was 1,868,000. That is a decrease of 58,000 from the previous week. And that has been going down for 3 weeks now. So this means that people that are out of work and looking for work are now starting to be more successful at finding jobs. That's a strong signal. That's another piece of very positive news. Well, if you want positive news, here was the positive news of the day. The producer price index for final demand fell 0.5%. in April. That's just crazy. The final demand prices were unchanged in March, but in April came down 0.5. I mean, this is 3 months in a row now that we're seeing really, really good reports with regard to inflation. So on an adjusted basis, the final demand rose 2.4 for the year. But if you look at the past 3 months, probably if you look at the past 6 months, it's way, way better. That's what the Fed looks at. And yet the Fed chairman was out today saying that their concentration is going to be more on inflation right now. Well, okay, I can understand that they might say that because the economy seems good and jobs seems good. So you might want to be more interested in paying attention because of tariffs or whatever to what's going to happen later in the year. But quite frankly, core underlying inflation seems to be completely under control. The April decline in the index for final demand is attributable to prices for final demand services. Services decreased 0.7%. Now, that might be a lot of government going on, okay? That might be what's causing that. And the index for final demands for goods was unchanged. Prices for final demand less food, energy, and trade services was even the core was down 0.1% in April. That's the first decline since falling 0.8% in April 2020, 5 years ago. For the 12 months ended April 2025, the index for final demand less food, energy, and trade services was 2.9%. But again, let's look at that last 6 months. I think we would have much better news. And there's no underlying pattern to suggest this is going to change. In other economic news, retail sales came in as expected, increasing 0.1%, and retail sales less auto was a little bit under expectations, but also 0.1% up. Industrial production was flat against the analyst's 0.1% expectation, and capacity utilization is a little less than I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it closer to 80%, but we're looking at only 77.7%, and that was only down 0.1% from the previous period. Then we take a look at the 10-year bond yields going back up, which is my Siri. I must have said Siri. Did I say something to Siri? I don't know. Unsurprisingly, we look at the 10-year bond yields have been going up, and that's impacting housing confidence. So the people who build housing, their confidence level has gone down. And in particular, in the current situation. So builder confidence in the market for newly built single-family homes was at 34, which is down 6 points from April. They said current sales conditions fell 8 points to 37. Sales expectations in the next 6 months edged only 1 point lower. So they're going, okay, this will turn around. And I don't know. We'll see what happens this year in housing. We're already in middle May. So you've got only about 5 months left. Now, sometimes when you'll have pent-up demand, right? And so all of a sudden you could have a rush. This is all going to depend on those mortgage rates coming down. If the mortgage rates come down, we can get there. You heard me say the other day that I think that Trump will begin to bully pulpit these rates down, not the mortgage rates. He has to get those 10-year bonds down. And I think we're going to start to see some stuff going on with regard to methodologies he's going to pull up to try to get that 10-year down. It says traffic of prospective buyers dropped 2 points to 23. Okay, then we got the HMI survey released. The 34% of builders cut home prices in May, up from 29% in April, and the highest level since December 2023. And their average price reduction was 5%. So there might be some deals out there. If you're thinking about buying a new house, you might be able to beat them down. Get out there or maybe one of your children is planning to buy a new house or grandchildren. This might be a time to check it out because they might be a little more desperate. The Empire, now here, all that good news, we got a little bit of bad news coming in from the Empire State Manufacturing Survey. Business activity continued to decline modestly in the New York State Manufacturing Survey. Little changed. The headline was little changed at negative 9.2. New orders and shipments increased after declining last month. Delivery times held steady. Inventories edged a little higher. Employment declined. The average work week declined a bit, and input price increases continued to pick up while selling prices actually increased. Those increases slowed. They remained a little bit pessimistic about the future. The index slightly below zero. Now, the Philadelphia Fed came in and said that manufacturing activity in that region remained weak. According to the firms responding to the May survey, the current general activity index rose but remained negative. So it was actually going up but remained in the negative. A new orders index turned positive. Shipments index remained negative. The employment index rose from a near zero reading. Both price indices remained elevated, and the firms continued to expect growth over the next 6 months. So expectations were actually more widespread for positivity later in the year. So not that bad, but a little bit off on those two reports. All right. So given all of that information that I've just shared with you, what have the markets done with, I think, generally good news? Even the bad news was tempered by more positivity downstream. Home builders and the Philadelphia Fed area both said, no, but we still see things being good later. So what is that? What's the impact on all that? Flat, about as flat as you could ask for. The Dow Jones up 0.36%. The NASDAQ down 0.07%. S&P up 0.29%. And Tesla down 1.32. It almost made it into the green. I'm unable to report, however, that it got back. Now, the Magnificent Seven, though, all down except for Microsoft and NVIDIA, which are barely up. Amazon down because, of course, they reported today down 2.46%. But overall, kind of flat today. Massive amounts of information, but the market seems to be like, okay, all right, that's good. And the Cathie Woods are also mostly down 10, but yeah, I would say mostly down. They're actually mostly down. Cathie Woods are not doing well this morning. Okay, but the bond market was, at least last time I checked, the bond market was doing well, down 7.5 basis points back to 4.453. That's still not fantastic. The 2-month also down only 0.3 of a basis point. The 2-year down 8.4 basis points. They were talking about the 30-year this morning. It's also down. It almost got to 5%, or maybe it touched on 5% this morning, but it's back down to 4.91. They said it really bounced off of that. And apparently, they're selling a lot there's a lot of auctioneering of the bonds going on yesterday, I believe. And so some of this has to do with that. All right, let's go to the oil, which is also coming down. Let's see here. The oil, yes, down $1.40 because the U.S. deal with Iran seems to be happening. The Iranians said, yeah, look, if you guys will take off all of these, all these restrictions on us, we'll stop our nuclear program. We'll get rid of all of the nuclear material that we have that's at the higher levels of being refined. And we'll promise, and we'll let you come in and we'll let you look. So not sure. Oh, let's see. What did Trump say he was going to do? He says, okay, we're going to see. We'll solve Hamas. Hezbollah is solved. Syria is now solved. China is beaten into submission. So who's Iran got left? It's the Houthis. They don't have any weapons left at all. So it's like Iran is out of options, and they're going, we give. Okay, what do you want? We'll do it. So oil down, $1.41. Very good number, $61.73. Gold up this morning, 36, back to 32.25. Silver also up 0.59 at 32.6, and copper up 0.95 at $4.70 about. The dollar, they say it's dipping a little. I'm looking at mixed. Bitcoin up 308. That's pretty flat for Bitcoin as well. Almost 104,000 though. And there you go. Those are the numbers. We'll go back. All right. So later today, this is Thursday. So completely messed up week. Yesterday, I was traveling. As you know, there was no shows yesterday. I'm sitting with 2 Brian White videos ready to go. They're in the can. They're both still relevant and interesting. I don't know when I'm going to put them up. I've got the normal For sure, 100% I know is going to happen at 5:15, roughly California time, is going to be, yeah, what's his name? Nick. It's not Nick. On Thursday, it would be Bradford Ferguson, and then maybe that'll be followed at 7:45 by Cern Basher. But I'm also going to be talking to Brian Wong later this morning. So I'm going to have 4 or 5, maybe even 6 videos that are ready to go, and I'm going to have to go, which one is the most relevant for tonight? So 7:45, you're going to get something really good, but I don't have a clue what it's going to be. So let's go back one last. Oh, yeah, there was nothing last night to put up a card, so forget that. Coming back to Tesla, and Tesla is flattening out again, down 1.18%. I say it finishes in the green by the end of what time is it? It is 8 o'clock, which in Hawaii, that's 11. Yeah, we got 2 hours. So yeah, I think we finished in the green. That's me. I'm probably wrong because, after this big run up, sometimes you do need a little breather, and maybe today is it. All right. That's all I got for you. As always, it has been great talking to you.